Hey everybody, it's Meet Me in the Middle podcast. Jackson, got Justin here, and we're gonna see if we can find some common ground. Justin, you were just
Ranting.
ranting and raving before we hit record here. Tell me about your morning.
Yeah. So I decided, I don't know. Again, I played baseball in junior college, and
Hmm.
for a program that gave me a chance when I needed one. So ever since then, I've been really appreciative of the chance they gave me, and the doors that were opened, and the people I met for doing all that kind of stuff. And ever since then, this was 12 years ago or whenever it was. I'll go back like once a year, and I'll pick a random game or something like that, and I won't go in the stands, but I'll hang out, in the parking lot or something, kind of watch from a distance, and just see how the program's doing, see who's there, see what the kids look like, see if they're competitive, you know. And the past couple of years, it's been a little disappointing, just the way the way the coaches go about things, the way the kids go about things.
It's not the same coach as when you were there.
Not the same head coach, not the same pitching coach. The head coach now was an assistant coach my sophomore year.
Okay,
Came
okay.
in my sophomore year, and now he's, um, he played for a long time. He was an outfielder, I believe. So fielding and hitting are pretty good. Usually, managers of teams are um, really common for catchers to be managers
Hmm.
because they have full view of the field, and they run the pitching staff and everything. My head coach was a catcher. He was drafted like first round, I believe, by the Mets back in the day. Coached with the Dodgers. Same thing with my pitching coach. Coached with the Dodgers. Knew Rick Honeycutt, who was the pitching coach before Mark Pryor. So we had pretty legitimate coaches when I was there. And Roger came in my second year because our other assistant Hector left to Cerritos, I think. So he came in, and now he's the head coach. And I don't know if it's a generational thing, which I kind of feel like it is, but the the guys, I just felt like they weren't playing with the same amount of pride and kind of backbone, really, as to how we used to play. For me, it would have been uncommon if we didn't clear the benches at least once or twice a year, where
Really?
something was. Well, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
We did against El Camino one year because they trucked our first baseman. It was a thing that happened. And you know what? It's one of those things where today, right, there's going to be a lot of people that say violence is never the answer, right? Well, I don't believe that, especially not in uh, a man's part of the world, in a competitive, high strung, kind of thing, because men, we don't always communicate with emotions. Not every man 100% across the board is going to be able to talk things out all the time. Sometimes a physical response deserves a physical response. That's the whole, like, hockey's the same way, right? Some guy upends you, some guy does something, expect a response, and they're not going to talk to you about it. They're going to respond. It's one of those things, and it's weird. It's not a disrespectful thing, right? It's holding you accountable. You did something, I didn't like it, it wasn't right, we need to correct this. And baseball's the same way. And so there was a game last year where it's late in the game. I want to say seventh or eighth inning. The other team is up by a handful, and I want to say more than 5 runs. I can't remember exactly, but it was enough to where some kind of unwritten rules start coming into play, right? And any unwritten rule is about pride. It's about taking advantage when a team is down. So it's already kind of an emotional thing when it gets to that point. Um, a
Talking
batter
about
came,
like a mercy rule kind of thing.
not it's not really a mercy rule. It's like when it gets late in the game and the score is drastically one way or the other, there are certain things you don't do because it's kind of like pandering. It's kind of, again, it's taking advantage of a team that's down. It's kicking them while they're down. Is the generic feeling of it.
Okay.
So, and it's there is, again, it's unwritten, right? So it's not a rule that's enforced. It's not written anywhere that says, oh, after the seventh inning, if you're up by five, don't do these things anymore. No, it's like, that if you're up by enough and you shouldn't be worried about it, you shouldn't be doing these couple of things because, it's giving you a bad look. and the other team, it's just so what happened, right, is like the eighth inning, and this kid comes up and he bunts for a base hit. It's flat out, no, that's not something you do. If you're up by a lot of runs, um, you shouldn't be doing something like that. You should be swinging. You should be taking a competitive swing and trying to get on base. So the fact that he's bunting for a base hit, that was already one thing. And what would happen next if I played? Firstly, that guy would get the first baseline. Our dugout is on the first base side at that school. Every single guy on the bench would be saying something to this guy when he got to first base. It would be you'd be holding,
just chirping,
just chirping. You just chirp.
Yeah.
And deservedly so. You shouldn't be doing that late in the game up by those runs. Everybody knows that. Then the kid steals second base, which is strike two. If I was playing and I was pitching, his teammate would be ducking out of the way now. I'm throwing at him. I'm going after somebody. And then when it happens, you turn around and you look at him, that was because of you. And it's like, stop. And it's again, it's literally, just a accountability thing. You don't need to be doing what you're doing right now. We're not at a point where we can fight back. It's too late in the game. You're up by too much. You need to knock it off. They didn't do anything. There was no response. There was no talking. There was no nothing. And I was like, there's just no pride at that point. You guys don't care that, and you're not holding other men accountable at this point. So it's just, I left. That happened. No response. I left. And then, the other aspect of it is that I don't think they're as physically fit as we used to be, so I saw that kind of stuff and I reached out to the trainer that I still know and the coaching staff. And I said, hey, you know what? I feel like I owe the school a little bit. You guys gave me a place to play. I didn't have anywhere to play before. I got a little bit of free time, we can email back and forth. I can show it for a little bit, during the week. I'll build a program for you, implement it. Let me see how it works. I first came out 3 weeks ago, and then I've been back every Friday since. So the past 2 Fridays, I'll meet them in the morning and see kind of what they're doing. And it's been two weeks now where they're still not fully implementing what I gave them 2 weeks ago. So it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, well, you said you needed help, and we all agreed that you guys don't play the same way anymore and that you don't work out the same way anymore. And I was willing to help, and you guys aren't, adults. All the coaches on this, except for one guy, I think, are 50 years old or older, and they deflect on the kids. Oh, well, kids aren't the same these days. And I'm like, that's such a defeatist mindset as to, you're supposed to be the coach. You're supposed to be the line and the standard and saying that we have a program, this is what we expect, and you need to do this. This isn't Little League. Not everybody gets to play. You're past the point of that. You earn your spot, you play, you earn your keep, and you do that, but you have to do the right thing. And you have to have somebody on top of you that's saying, these are the things you need to do, and this is what we expect. And if you don't do these things and you don't meet our expectations, you can go sit down, or you can leave. Like, I had a coach at Harbor that would scream at you, and he was like, oh, you think you're good? Cool. Like, I can fill your spot tomorrow. Then I'm like, so, I mean, it's, these kids aren't scared, and they're not motivated. And it seems like.
How old were your coaches when you were there?
About the same age. I think my pitching coach was almost in his 60s.
Okay. So there is a common thread that the coaches were old when you were there. Older, I shouldn't say old, but they were older when you were there. Now, new coaches still similar age. So really the variable there is
that profession and stuff. It has to be that way because you don't get paid unless you teach classes. Even in high school, you don't get paid. So I mean, anybody my age in their 30s, prime time of working and everything else, you can't just they do all their practices from 1 to 3 every day. That's right in the middle of the workday. So it's like, you can't do that. So a lot of the times the coaches will be guys that are retired, or they'll teach a class from 8 to 12, something like that. It's history. or it's some type of physical education, because that's how they get their money. And the schools will give you like a stipend. As you get higher up, D1, D2 universities, they have a salary, but it's still not anything, they're not a teacher. So unless it's a high-end D1 program where this guy's bringing, like SC, okay, well, that coach is making pretty good money, but making money on that program. So, junior colleges, you don't make a whole lot of money. So it's kind of like availability sometimes. Who's available to be a coach? So, it's picking and choosing kind of.
Are they allowed to have sponsors, like paid sponsors?
Uh, I I think they have to be fair. So I think it has to be like a sponsorship. I don't think it can go directly to the baseball program. I think it has to go to the athletic department and then it's distributed out. I know that kind of like a booster club where they raise money for the sports programs of the school and then they find a way, you know, equity wise to even it out. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I know that there's not many sponsorships there. Like it's usually posted on the outfield walls or somewhere like that, and
Yeah.
there's nothing there. So I don't know if they don't try. The kids nowadays, this floored me. Um, and they have a food allowance that's given to them from the school. So like for away games or home games, it's like $30 a day
A
for food.
per diem. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's cool that you just agree with it. I didn't have that. None of us, we didn't have that shit. I was like, what my allowance was? I had to work at Best Buy part time to have extra cash to, do whatever else. I'm like, that's insane.
Are
I was
you?
like,
Are,
go eat a Subway sandwich or
do
something
you
for
have a
retirement.
feeling, a negative feeling, because you didn't get it, or about the concept in general?
No, I don't mind the route that the things that I had to do to get the things that I wanted. That doesn't bother me. The big thing is again, I feel like people keep displacing things on the generation while also continuing to hand them things. That's my big thing is you continue to hand them things without them having to work for things, and their worth suffers for it. For me, like, and you know what?
So what? So you are. It's the concept of a per diem that you have a problem with, not the fact that you didn't get it.
No, no, because again, I I'm glad that I worked and interfaced with people and had a part-time job and took care of myself and the stuff that I needed. These guys don't have to do that. It's just again, they're handed money for food when why
So
can't
so you do have a problem with them getting a per diem. You think?
yeah, but not as it relates to me. I don't think that it sets up again. I mean it's where you and I draw lines as far as like sometimes conservative Democrat whatever else. I don't like handout, man. I
I
don't
I
don't think
I
that I
don't
don't think
I
that it
don't
helps.
believe that's a handout though.
It's the definition of they're given money. How is it not a handout?
But you're using the term handout in a derogatory way. That and it they're these are students who are historically don't have a lot of income, and they're playing sports for the college. When they sell tickets
They
to
don't sell tickets.
okay, well, when they sell concessions, they sell
Not,
merch.
not at that field. No.
They don't sell merch. So how does the program make money?
Great question.
It doesn't make money.
I don't think so.
Okay, okay. I mean
There's some that do. I mean, like Bakersfield
but we're
or
but we're talking we're talking about this program. That I mean, because
yeah,
I
no,
don't I don't know I don't know about other schools if they get per diem, and I think I'm assuming that they would, but it makes sense to me that these are school athletes, historically low, like no income students, which makes sense. It's fair. Um, and you're saying it's for away games. They don't get it for home games.
I think they do. I think it's just a daily
So
something.
5 days a week, they're getting a per diem for food. They just have a food budget.
Again, I don't know the specifics. I know for a fact game days, yes. I don't know about everything. I don't know about
I
everything.
mean, it seems like it's in the best interest of the program for the students to have eaten. And
I don't, yeah, but why is that the school's responsibility?
because they want them to focus on the athletic program. and not
A
have
one, a
to.
one that's worse than the one that I was at, where we had to go work and pay for our stuff.
Well, I mean, like all I'm saying, I understand where you're coming from. That, oh, like I had to work, and that the I don't know that, like I don't. It doesn't seem out of the question to feed your athletes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I would say if it was from the cafeteria, like locally, whatever else, but handing them $30 to go and do whatever, and it's like $30 a meal too, which I think that's
$30 per meal. That's too
yeah.
much. That is too much.
Yeah. So I mean, but you know what? Again, for me, like I try and I don't hold them to a higher standard than I hold myself. I don't hold anybody to. I did this thing, right? If I was able to do it, okay, well, then that's the only thing I'm saying. And I'm not saying everybody has to do it that way, but I'm saying you cannot tell me it's impossible then, because I did. And like for me, it was like I had class from 8 to 12. You had an hour for lunch. I had practice from 1 to like 4:30 or 5 every day. These guys practice from like 1 to 3, so they're
Okay.
practicing an hour and a half less than I did. And certain days throughout the week, if I wanted money, I had to go and work at Best Buy for from 6 to 10. And even with that whole schedule, meaning I was up at 6, I didn't get home until 10:30 or 11 every single night.
Uh-huh.
My name's on the hallways there as an athletic academic achievement award person, where my GPA was higher, and I had to do all that. So again, we're catering to these kids, where it's like, oh well, you have to be a student, you have to. I did all that and more, and it's like I don't think that lowering our standards or making it easier for them makes them stronger. It doesn't make them
What
smarter. It doesn't
what
make it
is what is that lower standard that you're referring to?
the one that we're talking about,
What
where
about
they
you
where they
talked
where
about
they, they
you
don't they
talked
don't
about
have to
having a
work.
job, you
They
talked
don't
about
have to work
practicing
for their own.
less. What are
They
we
don't
talking
have to
about?
work for their own food,
They're not
and
paying
they're
for their
not
own food.
and they're not practicing
That's a
as long,
lower standard?
out as hard. If we let them do it continually and have no standards, yes, they're doing less and they're getting free
Wouldn't you
things.
say that they're raising the standard by feeding their athletes? The standard of care for their students and athletes?
Sure, I would say from the school's perspective, standard of care, sure, but I don't feel that it's a plus plus. I don't think, because nothing in the world is a 100% positive. If you're going to enable one thing and do one thing, they're lacking in one thing. And what's the one thing? That they don't have to work for things.
I don't think that getting a meal on game day equates to them not having to work for things. Like that seems like that's jumping to like a far extreme, it sounds. Not having to work for one meal on game day.
That I know of. Again, I can't say, I don't know the standards for whatever else. I know for sure it is a game day one. Whether it's like every single day, I don't know. They said that, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I kind of zoned out after that.
Okay, okay, but so the reason why I asked about like the athletics making money, and they is where I was going with that, is that they have a vested interest in keeping the athletes healthy, keeping them playing, making sure that they come back and play at their best, so that they can bring people and bring attention and keep the athletics going in general. If we're talking about professional athletes, like the day of a game, that the entire team has to like eat their meal together. Like the whole team has to have lunch together. Like, or they'll have like dinner and then breakfast the next morning before the game. Like they have to have these meals together. They're providing the meals for these athletes. They are very well paid athletes, but they still are providing them a meal because they have a vested interest in them being well fed. And that, like, I don't know, that it doesn't seem like it's that that's wrong. Like that doesn't feel like it's like, do you have a problem with schools having free breakfast and free lunch?
Yeah.
How is this different?
I mean, these are adults. That's my thing. It's schools and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking about, or it all. You'd have to define the parameters, of course. But if you're talking about adolescents or juveniles or whatever else, then they can't go out and work and have their own stuff. All of these guys are able to go work, and if they can play college sports, they're physically able and attend college classes. They're intelligent enough to have some form of income, at least part time, to provide for themselves. It's
Okay.
not, it's not that we're constantly going to be, and you're right. In professional sports, there's a whole spread put out by the team and all that other kind of stuff. But those guys have made it. They've made it to the point where they can be catered to. And I just feel like in this scenario, as we're still growing and as we're still learning about accountability and responsibility, it's not going to hurt them going and getting a part-time job so that they can buy their own lunch. And again, this isn't the crux of my entire thing.
Okay.
We're kind of picking on this one thing. This was just one thing that I didn't have back then, and I was like, I wouldn't have expected them to give me money to go and buy lunch. Like it's not something I needed. It wasn't something that I would
Okay.
ask for. And
You
but
didn't
that's just my,
expect it.
that's
You didn't expect it. But if they had said, "Hey, we're gonna give you a couple bucks to make get something to eat," would you have turned it down?
a couple bucks.
Well, I mean, look, prices are what they are. You go to fucking McDonald's and you get it,
Oh, no.
get a meal. It's $26. I mean, that like $30 is
I wish it was
sounds like
higher.
a lot to us.
I wish it was higher so they discourage people from eating there at all.
I'm with you on that. But reality is, an 18-year-old, even athletes make poor decisions nutritionally sometimes. The point is,
Oh,
everything is expensive. Everything is expensive. $30 does not go nearly as far as it did. I'm older than you, and $30 went really far. $30 still went pretty far when you were, 18. Would you have turned it down?
no, I don't think I would have turned it. Again, if someone's gonna give it, you don't turn it down. But again, for me, and I'm not the 20-year-old me, the 21-year-old me. No, of course not. The 34-year-old me,
Then where's the
that's
problem?
able to weigh back and forth. And again, you're centering on this thing. This was the third thing of the most important things that I said. So it's
I
not
get
that.
that, but we're trying to
And
we're trying to. This is the whole point of our show is to
yeah.
meet in the middle.
Well,
You
yeah,
had
and at what point? Okay, and to what extent have you moved? You
I'm
keep saying the exact same things, trying to pull me this way. How have you come to meet me?
I agree with you that a per diem per day, giving kids, giving these students money every day, giving money every day would keep them away from getting a job. I think that game day meals, and that's where I've moved, is that I do agree with you. Giving them a food stipend in general would keep them from getting a job. Feeding them on game day, I think is reasonable. Um, I
Which is fine. I can meet with you on that. Again,
okay,
I don't know the parameters of certain things, but it's just again, call it the kind of fiscally conservative kind of
sure.
let me handle my own stuff. It's like I nobody's responsible for me but me. And it's just, I
Well, in
and
all
I
honesty, they are responsible
and
for those
they're responsible
athletes.
in liability ways when you play. That's the crux of everything. It's not
Okay,
leading up to that. It's not whatever else,
sure.
And my whole thing is like that's the bottom of what's the standard? How are they playing?
Okay.
What's their attitude now? And it's like, okay, well, if we're already to the third or fourth degree where we're just giving them stuff, I'm not going to keep giving them
So
things. So that's my
I am in agreement with you that giving that we cater too much and allow people to be less motivated to work and to support themselves. I'm with you on that. I just game day meals make sense to me. Well,
well,
go on.
yeah, well, yeah, and again, it's being that from my position, my answer was no, that I never had it, game day or not. No, you know what? My coach Roger brought it up. Our head coach at the time, he would sit in the front row of the bus
Yeah.
and he would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And if anybody was walking by on the bus and needed a sandwich, he'd give you a sandwich. That's what it was.
Sounds like they're doing the same thing with a slightly higher budget.
Slight, you like feather the slightly so bad, dude. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich on Wonder Bread and whatever else is not $30 a day to go and get whatever you want. I went to Sorrento's down the street, was an old school deli,
Yeah.
great stuff and everything, and I paid for my damn sandwich
Sure.
from my part time job that I had to pay for my gas
But
and to do whatever.
but
I had responsibility.
you already said that if they had offered it, you would have taken it though.
Okay, that does not discount that I would still have a job. I would still
Yeah,
do
yeah,
my
yeah.
okay.
And I agree. College students at a junior college should have a job. They should be working. Junior college is not, you're not moved away 3 states away living on your own for the first time. Most junior colleges don't have dorms. It's not like they have, you know, completely different. They're away from home. Community colleges are generally commuter schools. You should be working. We can agree on that.
Yeah. The other aspect of this whole thing too, right, was um kind of the discouragement of the coaches.
Sure.
Uh and really not, man, it just felt like a lot of excuses, and it felt like a lot of deferral as to the standards of the team and stuff were not under their control. That
Okay.
these kids, they showed up and they're just like this. They work like this or they don't. And I'm like, where are the adults in this equation? Is this your program? Are you the one that controls the standard and the expectations? And you cannot be afraid that if these men,
Hmm.
not kids, but if these men fall short of the standard and short of the expectation, that there are consequences for that,
Sure.
which is teaching them the same life lesson again, right? But they want to put all the blame on the kids. Oh, well, they don't do this. Well, make them. What do you mean they don't do this? Like, this is, it's not, they're not an open society where, they have the right to do whatever. No, they're a part of this program. We have these rules, we have these guidelines. You do them or you're not a part of it. This isn't Little League where everybody gets to play. We don't care about your playing time. This is your career now as an adult. Scouts will show up or not. And if you want to play and you want to advance, you need to do the right thing. And same thing with these coaches. Do you want to keep having a job? Well, you need to find a way to win and to be successful. And if these kids are, overly catered to, or their the expectations are laxed, or when they step out, you don't have a consequence to keep them back in line, everything's going to go under like what it is.
Do you know what I blame it on? I blame it on taking merry-go-rounds and monkey bars out of the playgrounds.
Take the risk out of living.
You take the risk out of living. Like the merry-go-rounds are so dangerous, but they also teach children so much critical thinking and reasoning. And there's a monkey bar at my stepdaughter's school, and she uses it every day, and I love that. And I talked to her about it. And that brachial movement of monkey bars is so crucial and important for motor skills, for upper body motor skills. And they've taken them out. I drive by playgrounds all the time that have the most vanilla milk toast, like a little slide with really high sides on it, and
Everything's plastic. There's no
everything.
metal
Yeah,
anymore.
I remember at my elementary school was wood, looked like a castle,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
you would get splinters,
Oh, yeah.
and there were off of the corners. There were like where the wood would join. You could climb out 3-4 feet, 10 feet off the ground. There was risk involved.
Do you remember Cass? Like, oh, homie broke his arm or like whatever.
Yeah,
Did you see get hurt?
yeah.
But you know what? They probably had a smile when it happened.
Let me tell you, you know me, I'm not a crazy athletic or person, but I will never forget the time I fell off the slide and got the wind knocked out of me, and how traumatizing that was. And I realized, like, oh yeah,
Do that
I
again.
need to be more careful.
Sure. Yeah.
Kids don't learn that they need to be more careful anymore. They really don't.
Everything is bubble wrapped.
Yeah.
And all parents do is hover.
Yeah.
There's a really good guy. I have a couple of his books, and his name is Jonathan Haidt. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He promotes independent, unsupervised play.
Yeah.
Go out and do stuff, because it also teaches kids social things. You guys need to work together and figure it out. You need to talk.
That's
You
the
need-
number
you-
one thing. That's the number one thing when the girls come to us. So and so did this. Do you talk to her about it? Figure it out. Talk to each other. Figure it out. And if you guys are fighting and you still can't figure it out, come back and talk to us. They
Yep.
rarely come back and talk to us.
Which is great. Means they're figuring it out.
Figure it out.
Yep.
Oh, she looked at me wrong. So talk to her about it.
She looked at her. God. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No.
But this, and again, like I feel like old man shouting at clouds, but like the children, let's just say 18-year-olds these days are different than they were.
Because they've been treated like adolescents for too long. Nobody matured them up. Like for me, my mom always raised and addressed me older than what I was. She
Sure.
was constantly trying to, she was very adamant in the aspect of I didn't have babies because I wanted a baby. I wanted
Sure.
to see what person you would become. So I mean, it's one of those things where I can see now that it's just, and I mean, it's we're going to leak into other subjects and stuff too, but
Yeah.
there's there's a lot of dads that take back seats where we didn't used to. You used to grab your kids, take them, and if they were with dad, we're gonna do something risky. Like we're gonna have a good time, and
Yeah.
we might get hurt, but we're gonna do something, right? And then we got into this space where I see a lot of guys that just take a back seat, and the mom just controls stuff. And you know what? With mom, there's no risk. There's just safety, safety and emotions, safety and physical things. It used to be that we're gonna get rough and tough with dad, and if I get hurt, well, then mom's right here. There was a balance to that, and I don't think that that balance necessarily exists anymore. There's so many people that would say, well, if I can protect them from getting hurt, then they never get hurt. Then they never get hurt, though. They never know what it feels like to get hurt and then have to get better, or take the risk and realize that maybe I shouldn't do that, right? Dad used to be like, oh, go ahead, go lick that light socket. Let's figure out if we want to do that twice.
Yeah.
And it's like, whereas mom's like, oh, well, don't do that. Well, yeah, but you're giving them the answer and you're not letting them have the
Yeah.
experience.
I'll tell you, giving them the answer and not letting them have the experience. When I first had a baby, there were so many moments where she would fall. And the first thing she would do before she would cry, before she would react, is look at us.
Oh, yeah.
And if I looked at her and say, oh, you're good, she'd be like, yeah, yeah. But if I looked at her and I went, oh, and like, oh, no. If I run into her, she's going to cry. They look like that. This is how babies, this is how you learn the proper way to react to things. And if you crumble every time you break a nail, that's the way that you're going to live your life, and there's too much bubble wrap. There's too much red tape and and coddling,
right?
Not to say that there aren't like masculine or macho or tough men and women anymore, but it's just not the norm that as it used to be. But you know what? The kind of the same thing went for my generation, because my dad, your dad, I know that your dad passed on a lot of different skills and knowledge working on cars and like working with tools and things. My dad did a good amount of that, but I wasn't really interested in it, so I didn't take a lot of it. But there was this like 10-year period where it was like people were talking about, oh, men don't know how to change a tire anymore. Men don't know how to, like anything more than changing the light bulb, and they have to call someone. And that's true. I mean, like the generation that's coming of age now is not the first generation to be losing these skills. And I saw something on social media the other day. It was like a grandma or an older lady that was saying, this is going to be the first generation of grandmothers that don't know how to knit or don't know how to sew and things. And this like mom came on and said, who didn't teach us? Who didn't teach us how to do it? Boomer. Like, she's like, no. You can't blame me for not having a skill that was not passed along to me. I asked I don't know that much about working on cars or fixing houses or things like that, but I asked the questions to my dad when I could, even though, like most of the time he's like, I don't have a lot of time to work on this. Like, I don't really have time to walk you through this step by step, but like, you can watch me, you can follow me, you can ask questions later. Like, he still gave me the opportunity to learn something, and I just don't think that in with how expensive things are today, people are working more. Jobs are not as manual as they used to be. People don't really work on their cars anymore. We're losing a lot of those opportunities to learn old skills,
Well, everything nowadays is a service economy, basically,
right.
or stuff is so cheap where you can just replace it rather than fix it.
Oh, the new TV that I got, the guy that installed it, he had a service remote for an LG, and I said, oh man, like that's cool that you've like fixed TVs. And he looks at me and he goes, we don't fix TVs anymore. He goes, we used to, 5 years ago, we would go in and like take the TV down, and when we would fix it, we'd open it up and we'd fix it. He goes, we don't fix them anymore, we just replace them. And I remember when I found a TV that someone put out. I loved dumpster diving in like Manhattan Beach, because the stuff that people put out in the trash was amazing. I thought it was a combo VHS DVD like nice, obviously it was a CR2, it was a big TV, but like I put it in my car and I took it to a TV repair. There was a TV repair shop in Hermosa. Old guy with a shit ton of TVs and
There forever.
forever. And I walked in and I bought this TV and he goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is in good condition." And he goes, "Yeah, it'd be like $40 to fix it." And I said, "Let's do it." And I got this brand new TV for $40. And then I bought, I don't know, I bought a DVD player or something and it broke. And I went to Best Buy and they're like, "Yeah, there's no, like, there's nowhere to fix things anymore. Everything is just disposable." And it bummed me out because I started thinking about those. There are people like that, vacuum repair people, like the TV and VCR repair, people that fixed things back in the day, and those skills are gone. They're gone because no one needs it, because no one wants it and no one is asking for it, and it's crazy to me. We're not learning stuff.
Well, I mean, back in the day, right? Your plasma TV would have cost like $8,000
Yeah.
or $7,000. It's like, well, if I pay that much,
Yeah.
someone's gonna come out here and fix it because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna buy another one.
Yeah.
Because now, you can go get a 65-inch TV for like $600. And
Bro, I got an 85-inch TV for $600.
And Best Buy or wherever you get it from is like, oh yeah, take 2 years, no interest, pay it off. So I mean, it's like they're practically giving it away.
Yeah.
And
I got a new TV installation and the warranty for $1,000. Wild, absolutely wild. Yeah.
So but I remember, like, when I went to Gardena anyway, that there were shop classes. I took a woodworking shop class.
That was one of my favorite classes in high school. Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. They had they have auto mechanic bays. But by the time I went there, when my mom was there, you had driving school at the school. They had a bunch of feeder cars and you had a teacher that would drive you around. And, and then you had auto mechanic class where it was like, let's change a tire, let's change your oil, let's do these things. You had these practical things, and it all went away for books or something
stupid readers. No.
I mean, but then you're going to complain about it, right? That no one taught me how to change a tire. And it's like, well, there is school, and there was a guy that could have taught you how to do it. And you made him irrelevant because, just get a AAA account.
Well,
another guy to come and help me. Either way.
This is coming around full circle though, because a lot of the home improvement stuff that I didn't learn or I didn't pay attention to. My dad did try to show me stuff when we would like change switches or like put up a new light, put up a ceiling fan, stuff like that. I didn't pay enough attention to it as a teenager, and now we're coming around full circle where like the whole all you just call a guy. Now we have YouTube. Now we have this like unending encyclopedia of learning how to do things, and I think we are getting back to this point where people will do things themselves. I think that there has always been and there always will be this dichotomy of like, well, I have the money to have someone do it, versus like I don't have enough money to pay someone, so I need to figure out how to do it. And I think there's a good amount of people that are in that middle that's like, I could have someone do it, but like I might as well just do it. And YouTube and the like masterclass and all their Skillshare, there's all these like things online to learn to do things. And I think people are more interested in that. I think COVID pushed that a lot.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't get an electrician out very easily, and it's like, oh well, I got this switch, I got it.
Or you were at home and you started looking around and you're like, God, well, that's a piece of shit. Like, oh, well, that's messed up, and it's like, well, what can I fix it around?
Yeah.
Because now I'm home.
Yeah. I lucked out because we were building that ADU during COVID. So when I went home and I had to start working from home, we upgraded the electrical panel, and that was that, and the internet, and all the everything. So that was opportune for me. But COVID's a good point. These teenagers, these 18-year-olds right now that you were seeing, these baseball players, think about when COVID happened in their life. They were 12, 13. They went through a very important part of their life looking at screens and not having that interaction. And they probably weren't playing sports nearly as much, Yeah.
But, and again, like we're gonna look back at history and realize that, everybody makes mistakes. So, I mean, when we look back at the whole COVID thing and stuff, and it's like, tell me the reason why kids couldn't be outside at the park. That's not. I'm sorry, but that was not. We overreacted.
We didn't
We
know. We didn't know
we
that if it stayed on surfaces. That's the thing.
yeah. So I mean, it's like it's one of those things where it's like okay, and then okay, we're worried about kids. Oh, you mean the ones that have like the strongest, most youthful immune systems of anybody around? What were we worried about? So I mean, I think we
Sure.
overanalyzed, and again, it's that bubble wrap thing where, and I'm not saying we shouldn't protect kids. Obviously, we need to and stuff, but they're a lot more resilient than what we think they are these days because
Uh-huh.
we weren't. And I think a lot of these parents these days don't remember what their childhood was like. You used to jump around, you used to do things, you used to get hurt, you used to do those things, and now it's like you don't want your kids to have that experience. But that's what made you strong and resilient too.
The
And you're
world has changed, though.
robbing them. You see, but you know what? The interesting thing is that name a thing that's gotten worse. You say change, right? But name what's gotten worse. Have things not gotten easier? Do we not make more money than we did? Is it not a safer environment? Now, like it used to be, okay, hey, watch out for that
So
windowless van,
I
but
will. I will say
people
that
aren't out
that
to work anymore.
you don't think we're
They're
in
all,
that. You don't think we're in that anymore.
and again, I'm gonna quote Jonathan Haidt and stuff like that. The predators aren't out like they were before because they don't need to be. You can access all the kids
What do
and
you mean by
everything through
out? Like out in the streets?
like out in the parks.
Okay.
When's the last time you saw somebody out in a park surrounded by people that have phones all over the place
Right.
hunting down kids like they used to?
Right. Yeah. But that is the way that I'm saying things have changed, though, is that predators are now have access in our homes to our children, whereas they were only.
Only access to your kids if you give them access to those things. There's a lot
Listen.
of people that say kids shouldn't have any smart devices until they're 16, and I agree.
Yeah, eighth. I think right now, like the initiative that I just saw was eighth grade. Don't get them a smartphone until
I don't know.
at
I wouldn't
minimum
even.
eighth grade.
Australia is 16 or 15.
Yeah. The Here's the thing. I
You don't need
saw
it.
I saw it was a meme, but honestly, it is real. I don't know, teenager. She got her phone taken away. Her phone. She was tweeting from her laptop, and it's like, well, fuck. Okay, so they took her laptop, and then she was tweeting from her like Nintendo Switch, so they took that away. The last panel of this, she was tweeting from her LG smart connected fridge. Like kids will figure out a way, whether it's like grandma has like a VR headset that someone gave her, and they figure out how.
That's a VR.
I'm Listen. I'm speaking from secondhand experience. Okay,
Okay.
they get into a chat room of some sort, and like life finds a way. Children will find a way to connect, and that's the problem. Is that predators will do the exact same thing. They will figure out a way to do that,
See,
and we have
get the
so
kids out.
much. Huh?
Take them to the park, get them out of the house, take them to
Sure.
the park, do those things. Like if you leave them at home, surrounded by all these things, it's there. Get them, take them to the park, put them in sports, do something outside and away from that, where it's safe.
Yeah.
Arguably, where it's safe.
Yeah. No. That I mean, this is one thing that we talk about in our house. Keeping the kids busy will not allow them to, in to quote us, won't allow them to engage in fuckery, and I, after going through therapy and figuring out all the reasons why I made decisions that I did, it came to be very clear that I had too much time and lack of supervision on my hands. And while it's like, okay, yeah, that's the parent's fault, I get it. My dad was in school later in his life, which meant like at that opportune time where it would have been good for me to have a little bit more parent supervision. My mom was out making money. She was out of the house 60 hours a week. My dad was working and going to school, and then he was going to school full time. I was a latchkey kid. I walked to school in the morning. I walked home from school. I had hours after school before anybody got home. That doesn't exist anymore. And like if I had been in sports, if I had been in extracurriculars, clubs, or like been out of the house, I think I would have made a lot of far better decisions overall. But I was bored. And I was able to make
I'm not,
stupid decisions.
I'm not religious, but that whole phrase of an idle mind is the devil's playground. I mean, if you don't got anything to do, you're going to find something stupid to do.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not a secret or anything, but like I went through treatment 20 years ago, and my therapist in treatment said like, you're not you're not using drugs because you're like escaping something or that like that she goes, you're bored,
Sure.
you know? She goes,
Sure. Yeah, because I mean, it's not like you were abused. You didn't have
no,
bad parents or whatever
no,
else. Just I don't have anything else to do.
no. I was just able to engage in fuckery and just
Yeah.
stupid shit, you know? And
And
that
I never, for me, I never had the chance because I was constantly playing
exactly.
something with them and
Yeah.
something. I didn't have.
We have our kids in too much extracurricular, you know, and even us, like even us as parents, we we don't have time to veg out and watch TV. We don't have time to get into the vices that adults can get into. You know, like the thought of, I mean, obviously, you know, I don't drink, but like the thought of me like tying one on and like going out and staying out late and getting drunk and waking up hungover in the morning, impossible. Not with my three kids,
I was gonna say
impossible.
that's the give and take, right? The choices we make. If you choose to have kids, well, you're giving up
Yeah,
something.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so I mean, it's not just kids that need to be occupied. It's just
No,
that like it's just you need to stay busy.
bigger kids make
But yeah,
bigger decisions.
I have a bank account and credit. I can make real bad decisions.
Yeah, exactly. Oh,
Don't
you're
yeah,
gonna give me so
hold
much?
my beer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, but again, this whole thing coming back to parents and their influences, right? So, like, same thing for me. Like, I'm glad that my mom kind of was who she was, where she's always been considered like a man's woman, basically. She's into cars, she's into, physical things. She's not super emotional. She's very logical and rational and everything like that. One of her biggest pieces of advices for me was, "You're smart, right?" And I'm like, "Well, I think so." And she goes, "Okay, don't be stupid." And I'm like, I was like, so anytime I'm thinking about like doing something stupid, it's like, well, I can't say it's not because I'm not smart. So I'm actively making a stupid decision and I know better.
Oh, I'm with
And
you.
yeah,
There were
and
so many decisions that I made that I said to myself, this is real dumb. Yeah, who cares?
exactly. So it's just like, and it's just, you don't have the excuse of not knowing. You don't have the excuse of being stupid. It's like, no, you're smart and you know that wasn't right. And then my dad, you think about your parents and the generations are a really big thing. My dad, he didn't really do much, especially in the ways of, I guess, the father that I'd like to be, where you're more present and you teach your boys how to be men and stuff like that. But I didn't hit realization until I got older, which I think is really important for kind of anybody in general, but mainly more boys understanding their fathers, because women talk about everything and we don't necessarily talk as much as, and that goes back generations, right? Like you go 2 generations back and men didn't talk about shit. Like they didn't, especially something vulnerable that, oh, what are you, pussy? Like, what do you, like, we don't talk about that stuff. And it's a totally, and that generation, we're getting better. I feel like we're getting better to where we talk about stuff. But I'm glad that my grandmother, my mom, throughout time have been honest with me about my dad and his dad, because again, you have to look at, it's not just the person, but who raised them and why do they behave that way. And my dad, his real father was murdered when he was 4. So I mean, that's a dad right out the window. And my grandfather came from North Dakota, moved all the way down here, bought a gas station, was doing stuff. I mean, it seemed like he was fairly motivated and doing stuff, and he wasn't able to pass any of that stuff down or to for his kids. And then my step grandfather came in, and helicopter mechanic in the army from the Dust Bowl, and God, where the heck was he from? Oklahoma. And just a hard worker, right? But he came in, and my grandma and my grandpa had 6 kids. So it's like, if he wasn't out of the house from sunup to sundown making money, how are you providing for 6 kids? So he would go and bust his ass every day and come home. But then it's again, how are you making time to grow up your boys, to grow up your kids? And my dad, was pretty hands off, and I have to go. And there was a time where I was um, resentful
Mhm.
and disappointed and stuff like that. because I didn't have an understanding. And there was a time where you're young, right? And you don't really care about the understanding. You're like, oh, well, you didn't do this and you should have. Then you get older and you're like, you're more worried about the why. Why did he behave that way? Why did he do that? And now, because, again, because he had a stroke and he's not really very communicative and the stuff he's going through, I have to get answers from other people because
Sure.
he can't really give them to me anymore. And again, I'm glad that I know more stuff that he was going through now because it gives me a better understanding. I don't have that hate or those bad feelings I had before. Now that I know who
Context is very
who he,
important.
who
Yeah.
he is and why he was that way, right? And it's more important too to also know that if I am cognizant enough, if I'm aware enough, he can teach me things by doing them wrong also. That I don't want to be like that. I want to have a better approach. I don't want to act like him. So you can teach by grabbing somebody's hand and telling them this is what we do and this is why, or you can be an aware child and growing up, adult and realize that that didn't quite work out for dad when he did it. Maybe I shouldn't do that. So you can learn by observing too. So there's a lot of lessons that, he may not have directly taught me how to do things, but if I go back in my memory and I see things, I can say, I don't need to do it that way. I can find a better way to do it. And so again, there was a time where I learned a lot of stuff about being a man from my baseball coaches and my project manager now, and Trey's taught me a lot too. Um, and I would look back and like, oh, my dad didn't really do much, whatever else. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I watched him, I observed him, I know stuff, and it's like I know not to do that or not to do it that way because it didn't get him anywhere. It didn't help me in some way, so I can be better. And it's just perspective in life as you get older expands if you let it, and if you're open to my opinions before being wrong and my viewpoints before being wrong, and you look for the reasons rather than the answers. That's a big thing. But yeah, it's the kids now, all these kids that are doing stuff, right? I hold them accountable as adults. So in that program, you're adults, you're now responsible for yourself and the things that you do, but their parents are still on the hook, like in my eyes, right? And if these kids, don't have the work ethic or don't have the responsibility and accountability and stuff, I'm gonna look at you because how did they get to this point? Like they just turned 18. So what happened in the 17 years before they got here?
Well, and this even more so goes to the COVID years, is that the only people, the only adults that were around them really
Them.
were their parents
Yeah.
for years. Yeah.
Mhm. So, accountability is a big thing and people don't like it, but if you're open to it, it explains a lot. And you can learn a lot from it. So it's you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think that, a lot of people across the board and that other generation, right, that 50 and over, whatever else will openly say kids aren't raised the same and stuff. I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? We don't live in
Every
we're not
generation says that
we're
though.
not in wartime anymore. We're not in the Great Depression anymore,
Every generation says that though. Like we all feel like every adult generation says that the one that's coming up after them is lazier, or
We
that,
don't have to hunt for our food anymore. It's like,
yeah, you
yeah,
know, yeah,
switches turn on lights. I don't have to use a flint and wood. But again,
yeah,
we can't make those things completely irrelevant, right? I mean, everybody, you don't make yourself beholden to other people to come save you either. You need to have some life skills about certain things, and if all they've ever known is that mom and dad call somebody else to come fix it, how are they going to know any better? I mean, I remember growing up, my 88 Honda Accord with 220,000 miles on it, dude. Had to replace, individually replace every single one of those tires at one point or another on the freeway, at home, whatever else. And it's like, you jack up the car, get the lug nuts off, jack up the car, take the wheel off, put the spare on, do whatever else, and get the hell out of there because you're
yep,
on the freeway.
yep.
And it's like, you got to do it. And so what am I sit here and wait for the AAA guy? It's like I got a jack, I got to, let me take care of it.
I was talking to a parent of like a teenager that they got their first car, and we were laughing because I said, "Do you remember when first cars were shitty? Like people just don't have shitty cars anymore." or rarely have shitty cars anymore. And okay, great. That's cars have gotten more reliable and sure,
Safe, safer for sure.
safer, yeah. But my first car, super cool car, it was a 67 split window bus. Uh that car could not go farther than about 10, 15 miles maybe. So like that was not only super cool car for 18-year-old Jackson to drive, but it was also kind of a safety net for my parents. They knew that I couldn't drive over 45 miles an hour.
So you couldn't go fast.
Yeah, they knew that I could like get
If
to
wind
school and I
behind
can
you,
come
you might
back.
hit
I could go see my
47.
girlfriend and come back. Like I couldn't really leave. And my sister, for her oldest son, and for her daughter as well, but like all of her kids, they had to learn how to drive stick before they could have a
Was a
car,
stick.
before she would like
I wanted a car. The only car we had was a stick, so I
right.
had to drive. You know,
Same. I had to learn how to drive a stick to drive the bus.
my current, my Mustang now, I wouldn't have one that's not a stick. The car I drive now is a stick.
I had a
So
friend that I worked with years ago, a realtor that I worked with, that he grew up in Hawaii. He every car he'd ever owned was a stick. Like he's like it was hard to find any car that wasn't a stick when he was growing up on the island. And he wanted uh, a Tacoma, and he went to every dealership in L.A. and Orange County and like everywhere. They didn't have one. They're like, oh, they don't really make that. He's like, well, find it. Like I'll buy it. You find me a stick, I'll buy it. And they found him one. It wasn't really the color he wanted. It didn't have certain things that he wanted, but he wanted a stick. He's like, I don't really feel comfortable driving an automatic. I said, really? He goes, yeah, because my last car, he had a car in between two cars, and that one was automatic. And he's like, I thought that I could like get used to it. He's like, my girlfriend's car, now his wife, is like wasn't a stick, and he didn't like driving it. And then she got a what is the BRZ?
oh, Subaru.
Yeah, same as the Toyota. Yeah,
They make 3 versions of that
yeah,
car. FRS too.
yeah.
The one thing about that is it's only most of the majority of them are sticks.
She got a stick,
Yeah.
and that was like a conversation that they had, husband and wife, because she said, I'm willing to get a stick, and he goes, yeah, then get a stick. Like why, don't get that car in an automatic. But it was so hard for him to find that. I know very few people now that know how to drive a stick. That's the best car,
Anti-theft device you
security
could have.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Wild.
why, I mean, there's so many times where I just leave the Mustang open and I walk in somewhere and it's like, dude, only like 8 people
Yeah.
and all of it are going to be able to steal this thing.
Yeah.
And like the way that my mom laid it out to me early on was, firstly, it was her car before it was mine.
Yeah.
So I saw her every day driving it.
Yeah.
I saw her working the shifter. I saw her. And as I got older, she would let me shift for her as we would drive.
Yeah.
So it was always a thing for me. And she also said, sometimes you never know where you're going to be in life. If you take a trip or you do whatever else, what if the only way to get out of where you are, like rental car wise, what if the only thing left on the lot's a stick? At least you can get out. At least you can do it. So if you know how to drive a stick, you can drive an automatic. But it's very possible that you can know how to drive an automatic and not know how to drive a stick.
Other countries have different license for people that can drive a stick or people that drive automatic. And I think that I find that really interesting. That it's almost like a requirement that you have to understand shifting to move on. Driving a trailer, backing up a trailer is another one of those skills
that's like a coming of age thing for a guy. I had to do it a bunch of times.
Let me tell you, my grandma, she moved from Redondo to Alabama, and
that's a very weird jump there.
Yeah, long story, but she bought when she sold her house in Redondo, she bought her house cash in Alabama. My uncle drove out with her, and they had a trailer. They brought all her stuff, and he was having the hardest time backing this thing into her driveway. My grandma, 82 years old, was like, "Get out!" And she jumped in the car because they had moved so much. When my dad and my uncle and my aunt were growing up, she drove and backed trailers up all the time. That wasn't her job. It's not like she worked for UPS or she drove a box on it, but like she knew that was a skill, like riding a bike, that she needed it. it had been 50 years since she'd probably done it, but she'd understood, and it was like it just made sense. She backed that thing up right into the driveway, parked it, and got out. And my uncle's going, "Nah, I feel like an idiot," you know. But it's true. It's hard to do. The first time I ever like had that, like a U-Haul, a tiny little 8x5 or 8x6 trailer, I had to learn. I had done it before, but it had been a long time, and I really hadn't done it that much to have good practice on it. But it like broke my brain.
Everything's backwards.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like for me, like I have my parents' trailer now
yeah,
that's 18 foot or no, 20, gosh, 22 or 24 foot,
yeah.
trailer and stuff. I need a spotter, because I can't see back there, but as long as I got a spotter, I'm fine. And,
You don't have a camera on the back?
no,
Oh,
not a
okay.
bad thing. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is like, it's all backwards. You got to do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Well,
And
don't they say like
my
steer
mom,
from the bottom?
yeah. I mean, my mom used to do all the driving. I mean, my mom used to work for
Yeah,
UPS back in the day.
yeah,
When's the last time you saw a female UPS driver? But she did that in the 80s,
yeah,
and all the UPS trucks were sticks back then.
yeah.
The
Are they not
stand
anymore?
No, they're all automatics now. The I mean they might still have some old ones lying around, but I mean not
I
like
swear
that.
I saw like a newer UPS truck that seeing the guy ship.
Could be, but
Yeah,
she was a driver, right? And then my dad used to, work for a tow truck company and
yeah.
like do it. My parents were drivers, my grandpa used to build flat bottom race boats and
Mm-hmm.
everything and he'd build Harleys. So I mean, we had a lot of that stuff going on. But, I grew up in a house of drivers and it's just what you did, and it's stuff is different now, man. I don't know, and for me, like the Mustang, right? I saved $1,500 getting a stick over an automatic. The automatic is more expensive and it's heavier. So if you get a car like, like a Mustang and you want to do performance
No,
stuff,
weight is an issue. Yeah,
yeah, you want as light as possible and you want as much control over the gearbox as possible. Guys that, or people that go and get automatics, it's more expensive.
who
And I was
cares
like,
about gas mileage, right?
I just saved $1,500. Yeah, exactly. Not when you're buying a car like that anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we'll see what happens with that school and those kids. I hope I have the patience and understanding to kind of be around and be that middle point. The coaches are 50, the kids are 20, and I'm 34. So I
Yeah,
hope that I can be the middle point between them
sure.
and see if I can help.
I, th-
But yeah,
I think the thing to remember, Justin, is like they didn't grow up the way that we did, and they're not gonna live in a world now like we live in now when they're our age. I think that yeah, these kids don't have the same work ethic, and I think that this is a point to okay, great. We've now established that these kids kind of suck. How do we move forward with this?
yeah.
Like we can't keep going. We can't keep going back to like, well, it was different when well, who cares? Okay, great. That's awesome. You have great stories and you had a great work ethic. Let's move forward.
But I mean, again, those guys have to help those kids
Yeah.
move forward.
And
And
I
right
think
now,
and I
right
think you
now,
can
it
help
seems like
them,
they're getting
but they need that
right now,
grace.
it seems like they're getting defeated.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate to lose, man. I hate losing, and it's just a matter of like saying, well, there's nothing we can. No, there is. There's always something you can do. Whether it's a different approach or a different whatever. Like the second you've decided you've lost, and it seems like that's what it is. And I'm like, you can do it. You just gotta muster it a little bit. You gotta do it, and it's
They
just
don't hate to lose.
exactly. Exactly. That's it, man. Don't be afraid to sweat, man. Don't be afraid to fight for something. And
Hmm.
that's what it is. It just you got to have the fight. So, we'll see how they do. It's still early. We got all fall, but, you know, 2 weeks into it, I'm starting to think, man. I'm like, God, did I waste my time? Did I was like, okay, well, let's have some patience. Let's have some understanding.
Yeah.
It's change, let's see if let me not, I offered my help and stuff and it can't be, you know, completely, you know, under conditions, right? They're going to do stuff. They're going to have setbacks. They're going to do whatever. You just got to keep your foot in it.
All right. It's been a good talk, Justin.
Yeah, it has been.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope this wasn't too schizophrenic. I know we jumped around topics a lot, but in the meantime, good corona to you, sir.
Good corona, bud.
All right.